Welcome to episode 4 of That'll Be The Tism. That's 4 times we've done this consistently.
8
For
weeks.
8 weeks, 4 fortnights.
2
Well done,
months.
us. And also, we are both officially mic'd now. I'm raising
Woo.
a microphone to the camera. It's like raising a glass, isn't it? But
Oh
a
God.
microphone instead. With the same microphone because I knew Claire's worked, therefore I got the same one.
Yes. And
Maybe.
also, I think sometimes it's purple and sometimes it's green, so it's very on brand.
Yeah, mine seems to just be blue. Oh no, it's changing colour. Marvellous.
Oh, mine's not anymore because I pressed that button on the top and I'm not going to do that again, otherwise it'll mute me.
Yeah, probably best not.
Mm.
We're figuring things out as we go, but hopefully the sound quality will now be 100% because I have noticed the past couple of weeks a difference in your sound than mine. So that did prompt me to actually buy the thing rather than just leaving it in my Amazon basket forever.
Does that mean that I'm an influencer?
Yes,
Mm.
I've always been an influencer for me.
Ah.
Sounds weird, that doesn't it?
No, but it goes back to mirroring, doesn't it? We've like influenced each other significantly because,
We have right down to the microphones.
yes.
Mm. So, yeah, so great. Well done. Good job. 4 episodes.
Oh, I'm like, wow, what have I done?
We're going to start the talking. We've already started it, but we're going to start it by how long it took me to get into this recording. Because an interesting thing happened. It's not interesting. An anecdotal thing happened when I was late for this recording, as per. And I messaged Claire and said, I just need to go to the toilet and get a drink, and I'll be approximately 7 minutes, which apparently isn't something that's usual. What had happened in my head was 5 minutes doesn't seem long enough. 10 minutes seems too long. So I'll plumb for 7-ish, but it took me about 15. What I'd anticipated to do was go to the toilet, go down the stairs, get the milk out of the fridge, make a matcha latte in my matcha whisk, clean the matcha latte maker, and then come back upstairs in 7 minutes. Now it takes 3 minutes for the matcha whisk to whisk the matcha once I've made it, set it up. So I was anticipating doing all the rest in 4 minutes, plus talking to my partner briefly because I haven't spoken to him since this morning. And yeah, it's not physically possible, is it? But both Claire and my partner were like, that's a really oddly specific number. And in my head, it made complete sense as to why I'd said 7 minutes. I was like, why? It's halfway-ish between 10 and 5. I mean, 8 minutes would have been probably, I was going to say 8 minutes would have been better because it's closer to 10 than 5. But in fact, neither 8 nor 7 is realistic for what I was trying to achieve in the time.
No, I think you
So,
thought you had some sort of fast forward button, like you were some sort of neurodivergent flash.
I mean, I am
Um,
a neurodivergent.
I've given it away now, haven't I?
Thanks, Claire.
Cut that bit out.
It's ADHD time blindness. That's what that is.
From my perspective, when Emma sent me the message saying I'm going to be 7 minutes, I'm just like, that's oddly specific, but also I've got time to do so many things because it's not going to be 7 minutes. It's going to be at least double that. And that is the benefit of knowing about your Udda Hudda. Is that
Yeah.
right?
I'd
And
heard of.
also the benefit of having known you for 20 years and knowing that in no world
Yeah.
would you possibly have been 7 minutes.
It was
And,
14, so it wasn't
and
more than double.
that's okay.
Checking on the WhatsApp.
Yeah. And that's fine.
Yeah.
But, you know,
And 7 minutes also could mean for 14 minutes in my brain.
in Emma time, it definitely does mean that.
Yeah, it does. We've
Yes.
got proof.
When you apply the Emma formula,
Yeah.
uh,
Double. Double the
yeah,
time.
you're just like, that's fine. I've got time to put a bit of concealer on, have a little drink. It'll still be here before her.
And you were.
Yes.
Yeah. It all worked out well.
Yeah.
So, what have we been up to? What are we going to talk about in the what we've been up to section?
Eurovision,
Yes.
first of all, my spreadsheet that
I'll give
I
you full
didn't even
credit.
care if anybody else used it or not.
I printed it.
But you did, and used a simplified version for your son, which
Oh,
was,
that was epic. He did so
yeah,
well. Honestly, I was genuinely over the moon when my 6-year-old child sat with us. Well, no, he didn't. He didn't sit with us. He ran up and down the living room constantly through Eurovision. But for every song, he sat down and he gave them a score and he wrote a comment for all of them. And it was like, it was magic. It was brilliant. And because he doesn't like music a lot of the time, he's very visual with his music. So if there's a visual to it, he's much more likely to engage with it. With Eurovision, every year, he's managed to get into it because of the show and because of the lights and because of the fun element. But this year he's been old enough to keep his own score sheet. And then we did score sheets and he told us that our scores were wrong as we were writing them down and why they were wrong. And yeah, we've got 4 songs from Eurovision on his playlist now. That's been all he's listened to this week. He went to his dad's the other day and made his dad rewatch quite a lot of Eurovision when he got there on Monday night because he wanted to
Oh,
show his dad. And it was, yeah, it's really, really great for me to have that to share with him because I absolutely love Eurovision. The scoring part of it is genuinely one of my favourite parts of a year. There's all the scores come in and the tables moving around, and it's really nice. It ticks so many boxes to have
yes.
music and numbers and a scoring system at the same time. And it's a lot of fun in a lot of ways. Yeah, so it was a proper family thing that all 3 of us enjoyed. So that was it was a really lovely time. And thank you for the spreadsheet.
Yeah. And it was a bit of a social gathering without leaving the
Yes,
house as well, wasn't it? Because we had a
we
little
did.
chat group with one of our other friends and
Yeah, I
we
had
all
a one
were
as well. So I had 2 going.
and we were all sort of exchanging little quips and scores and things all the way through. And
Yeah,
my favourite entry was the Swedish entry that I'd been singing for the past. I don't even know all of the words, but it had been in my brain for about 48 hours by that point. So,
it's been in my head most of the week because that's one of the ones that's on the playlist now.
yes,
I think their stage performance was unbeatable. It
really
was
good. Yes,
fantastic. But my favourite was the Iceland entry. I think it's a lot of fun. And they had a
it was
squid that
good.
they threw at the screen, which was amazing because everyone needs a nice squid throw.
I liked that a few of the novelty ones did quite well, supposedly novelty ones did quite well this year. Like
Yeah.
Estonia came third, didn't they? And
Yes.
and he was really good.
He was hilarious
Um,
with his legs.
yes.
Yeah. But anyway, I think
So that
Eurovision's been
was
our main thing, hasn't it, that we've had fun with?
so hyper focus of the week this week.
Yeah. We've got work
You,
things to talk about.
yeah.
Ooh.
Ooh. So I think you deserve the prime position of reasons for work. It's work, isn't it?
It is
Have we said
work.
that?
I mean, it's work, but we've already discussed recharge time last time, and I have been depriving myself of recharge time for quite some time. And so a lot of the last fortnight has been spent trying to figure out getting some me time back in my calendar because what I've been doing is just working constantly. I've got so many things that I'm trying to do and trying to get done in my business that I've just completely disregarded any time for myself. And so I've just tweaked my calendar. On the nights I'm working late, I'm going to take a longer break in the afternoon. So that's nice. So we've been doing some energy management stuff over the last fortnight with my support worker and, all the rest of it. But the main hyperfocus for me this week has been the book that I have co-authored, which is very exciting. And I
Yes.
have been going to share it on the That'll Be The Tism page all week. But it is a book called Children's Mental Health Matters that was arranged by a lady called Cassie Swift, who is a legend. She has just put so much work into this book and bringing it together for people. The run up to it and the run up to the launch and the launch of the book has been properly intense. There was posts most days, and then the book was released on Tuesday, and then it went to a number 1 bestseller on Wednesday, which was yesterday, wasn't it?
Yes.
In 5 of the 6 categories that it's on Amazon under,
Wow.
it's a number 1 Yeah. So, and one of those categories, Brené Brown was number one before. So you go on and you go on to the Kindle thing and you go into this one particular category, and I can't remember for the life of me what the category is, and I know that's not helpful, but there's a screenshot of our book with one review and Brené Brown's book with 29,000 reviews. Ours is at number one, and fair enough, it probably won't be a number one for very much, but this book is a compilation of stories from 14 different authors. I say stories, but it's educational about how to support children's mental health, how to support children with their mental health. There's stuff in there from all different topics. My chapter is about exploring neurodivergence, neurodiversity with your child. There's a bit of my story there about being an undiagnosed autistic ADHD child and some of the advice that I have through my work. But there's stuff from self-harm to divorce to migration to co-regulation to eating disorders. There's loads and loads and loads of stuff in the book, and it's awesome, and I'm super, super proud to be a part of it. And that has just been, it's just taken over my week. I've not done anything else that I was supposed to be doing really apart from my actual clients. But yeah, that's been my hyper focus.
We're
How about
not
you?
sponsored by it, but I'm
No.
sure we can pop a link in the description of the podcast should you be interested,
Yes, we will do that.
and make Emma happy and make it 6 out of 6. Is that right?
When you publish books on Amazon, you pick 3 categories for paperback and 3 categories for Kindle.
Right.
And actually, in the book, just for all roundness and accessibility, at the beginning of each chapter is a handy QR code. So there is actually an audio version incorporated into the book.
Yeah.
So if you like books and don't like reading, you don't have to buy a separate book, which is nice. It makes it really nice and accessible. So, and every author's read out their own chapter to get the tone and the knowledge across. But yeah, it's a good one. So
Very
we'll
good.
root for that.
Well done.
Thanks. So what about you?
Well, where do I start with mine's also work. Um, and as part of my journey, for want of a better phrase, I'm starting to sound like I'm on X Factor. My X Factor sob story.
Find some music to just play in the background or
Yeah, some royalty-free music
yeah.
while I tell you about my journey as an autistic person. So, um, over the past year, there's been some change in my job, and obviously, change as a neurodivergent person is not helpful. It can be a lot to get used to. And for the past year, I've sort of been trying to advocate for what I needed to be able to continue in my job. And it got to a point a couple of months ago where I was just like, I can't just work in all of these unknowns anymore. I'm gonna have to just bite the bullet and make a decision that's best for me and my health and my well-being, because I was just constantly just worn out from the situation and from not really having enough recharge time. So I'd made a request towards the end of last week to go part-time in my job, and also to ask for the reasonable adjustment to continue to work from home more than is required for me at the minute. And it was accepted within 48 hours. So I wanted to talk about it on the podcast purely as a sort of like, if you are thinking of things in your job that would make it easier for you as a neurodivergent person, then just ask for them. Don't think for a year that you're being in trouble by not asking, because all you're doing is putting yourself on a level playing field as non-neurodivergent people. And why shouldn't you do that? It's a disability. Similarly to if you had a mobility issue or another medical issue, a physical issue, why wouldn't you ask for something that can make it easier for yourself? But the trouble with that is that it's hard for us to feel like we're being perceived and feel like we're causing a fuss and asking for things sometimes. And I think that's probably why it's taken as long as it has for me to just go, look, something's got to give. I've got to have that in black and white, and then I know what I'm working towards. And I've now got that, but my brain is. I said to Emma beforehand, you're gonna have to just explain something to me before we start because I know what it means, but I need you to say it out loud so that I can process it because my brain is just processing so much stuff at the minute that I think that's you said, didn't you? It's probably part of the reason why I'm just still feeling wiped out because in my mind, I still don't, it doesn't seem real because it happened so quickly and because like my brain's been thinking in a certain way for a year and now all of a sudden it's like, well, that's all sorted now. I don't
When
have to
you
work Mondays anymore.
and when you build up, we spend a long time building up to a thing. And especially if it's a stressful build up and you don't know what the outcome's going to be. And it's kind of like when you go for diagnosis, it's the
Mm,
same kind of build up and build up and build up. And then, oh, actually, that was dead easy when we got to it. And now I have to figure out, accept it and process it. And it's all really positive and what? Because it's just, it's a shock to the system, especially when there's a lot around it and there's a lot built up around it that it might not go through and you might have a further thing to sort of argue your case and all the rest of it and you kind of have to prepare yourself for that just in case. But then when you don't need to do that, it's like, oh, right, okay, so this was all right to ask for.
hmm
As you've said, you are just putting yourself on that level playing field. And it took you so long to get to the point where you could directly say, no, this is what I need. Not even no, just this is what I need.
mm,
And can I have it?
yeah.
And it's kind of seeing if there is anyone else out there that's listening that is struggling at work and that knows that there are things that would make their life easier and it wouldn't impact their work. They would still be able to do the job. And a lot of neurodivergent people work better from home. And because you've not got the distractions and you've not got masking and you've not got to think about the lights and the noise and you can just focus on your work. And then all you've got to do is remember to go to the toilet and have a drink.
Mm. You can control your environment and
Yeah.
it's a safe environment is the main one.
Yeah.
Um, and it's sort of like make it. There's a lot always in the news about oh everybody's going back to the office and people shouldn't be working from home. In some cases, you can sort of say, well, maybe people have taken advantage of that and they've been sat in a beer garden or something when they should have been working. However, I don't feel that that's probably something that an autistic person or a neurodivergent person is likely to do because that would be breaking a rule. And the rule is you are being paid to work, sit at your desk and work, and that's what we do. So it's sort of something that's helped us is being taken away. And a lot of employers are saying, well, no, this is just it, this is the job. But to know, especially in the UK, that you have a right to ask for reasonable adjustments
Yeah.
as part of your disability, and that those reasonable adjustments are treated differently as well from a normal flexible working request,
Hmm.
was just something that I wanted to wang on about for a little bit today because if it helps anybody else, and you don't necessarily even just need, it's not even just about working from home, is it? It's,
No. Any
um,
adjustments? I mean,
you
there's access
know,
to work. That's a whole other ball game, but there is access to work out there to help, to provide funding to help your employer
yeah,
help you. And that's another, a whole other topic. But reasonable adjustments are something that is not going to cost a massive amount to your employer and that will benefit your work and will make your life easier and will
mm,
make it easier for you to do your job. And it can be any number of things from different chairs and headphones and all that stuff too, working from home or to
mm,
swapping around. It's like a good example is if you work in an office that hot desks. No, I need to work at the same desk every day, because of my routine, my need for knowing where I'm going to be sat. That is always going to be a reasonable adjustment
mm,
because hot desking is one of the most insane things. I just can't get my head around the benefit of moving desk every day, or it just
No.
seems like a crazy idea to me. It's okay to say if you work for somebody that hot desks, I
Yeah.
am really struggling with this change every day. And it's not an unreasonable request for me to sit at the same place every day. If everyone
No.
else moves around, then fine. But at least I know that I'm sat here and this is where I come and this is where my stuff is and my desk is set out as it is set out. And I know that it's a safe place for me to be. So that kind of thing should always be a reasonable request.
Yeah. Even something as simple as asking for an agenda before a meeting, or asking that people don't call you out of the blue, like that if they're going to ring you for any reason, that you have a sort of brief summary of what they would like to talk to you about, so that you've got time to sort of mentally rehearse and process for that if you want, is something that I'd never thought about until I started sort of unpicking all of this. And it makes such a difference to know that if somebody's ringing you, you don't go to worst case scenario, which is they're ringing me because I've done something wrong. You know why they're ringing you, and you know you're prepared for that. And if they're going to ask you for figures or things like that, you're prepared for that as well. Um, and the other thing that I want to mention before it slips out of my mind as well, is that you don't need a formal diagnosis to be able to ask for those reasonable adjustments.
Not all.
At least not in the UK.
No, no, we can't speak for other countries, but it comes under mental health requirements without a diagnosis. That's what
Yeah.
it comes under. So it's always okay. And it's okay to need help. And there's a whole other topic about ableism and accepting that it's okay to need support, which is hard enough in itself, especially if you've been somebody who has been relatively low needs or externally low needs, like for your whole life, and you're an adult, and then you have to accept that there is something to accept. You have to accept that it's okay to need support and that you're maybe not as able as you previously thought, or you need support in certain things. But nobody is perfect. And sometimes with autistic perfectionism, it's difficult to accept that there are things about you that it's okay to need support with. But I think that we're going to do a main section sometime on ableism, aren't we, and stereotypes and all that stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
And so now perhaps isn't the time.
No.
But it's all part of the same topic, and asking for support is a huge step to make as a neurodivergent person who hasn't ever asked for support.
Mhm.
I know it's been a huge deal for you, and like I cried when you sent me a message to say that it had gone through so quickly. I got very excited and very loud and cried.
I was downstairs for some reason and I had a little jump around in the front room
Yeah.
and then messaged several people, and I was like, I can't articulate what I want how I feel about this. So I was just like, Emma, voice note, Emma, this happened. It's finally happened.
It was a
But
really,
yeah,
really lovely message to receive, and I shouted loud, and then cried because that's what happens in my brain. When
yeah,
I get good news, I just generally just cry, or bad news, or any news, in fact, that, it's crying is a very
yeah.
common reaction for me, in general times.
Yes,
General
just in
times.
general times, like it's
Like,
not really a thing, when it was just like, oh, and I cried. For most people, it's like, oh, it must have been really sad, or it must have been like a lot. Whereas, like me saying I've cried about something is literally like
all right then.
it'd be more.
You'd be more
Yeah.
surprising if you hadn't cried.
Yes, it'd be more surprising if I hadn't cried.
Okay, so that was the hyperfocuses.
Hmm.
We're going to do a shorter main segment, I think, aren't we? And we knew that was going to be quite a big one. And we
Yeah.
probably could have made it into the main segment and talked about ableism this time, really, couldn't we? But never mind, we have decided not to do that, and my brain
No, I think
can't
there'll
change
be
on the spot.
no,
Got a
no.
plan. Got to stick to the plan. Who do you think we are?
Come on. I've just spoken about how it's taken me a year to get used to changes and ask for what I need. So no, we're not going to do that. But
Realizing halfway
um,
through the podcast that the plan could have been different doesn't mean that we're going to change it, because we can't do that. That's not something we can do. So another
it's
time.
It's definitely something that's on the list, isn't it? Ableism.
Perhaps we do that last time. But oh God,
Um,
we could perhaps do that last time, right? Sure. Maybe we could do that next time, is what I was trying to say.
That'll be your
Absolutely.
flash powers. You can go backwards as well as forwards.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it in the last podcast.
Just
Listen to episode 3 and it'll be there now.
everything's fine. Yeah. Try it. You never know. But yeah, while talking about Descript, before we
Mhm.
move on to the main section, the title for the last episode was
Oh,
Showing
yes.
Cheese. Yeah, it was Showing Cheese or Autistic People, which people that listen to the podcast may have got, because it wasn't a difficult one to get, was it? But it was
No,
fantastic, which was throwing cheese at autistic
autistic
people,
people,
I think, wasn't it? Yeah.
which we're still not going to do. And it made,
We're
I
not
don't know
doing
whether
that.
I shared this with you, but the person that made that jokey suggestion sent me a message afterwards and said, I think I might be getting autistic people mixed up with mice.
Maybe. You
And I'm
didn't share that
like,
with me. So anyway, now we've explained the title of the last podcast.
hmm.
Who knows what this one's going to be? We're going to go into our main segment, rave. Once I've opened it. Are you? Oh, sugary bugger. Hang on a minute. Hang on a minute. Wait, stop. Oh, I can't even hear it. What's happening? We've got a tech issue where we're going to do the main section rave.
Mm.
I'm imagining that I'm dancing to music because I can't hear it, and I think it's probably because I've plugged my microphone in. But weirdly enough, I'm playing it on my computer and Claire can hear it. We've
But we're
been
not.
going through this now for several minutes. We can't figure out. I'm going to just play it and pretend. So I will be dancing to an imaginary rave.
Yeah, but hopefully I'm not the only one that can hear it. You
Yes.
can also, you listeners can also hear it.
Right, but I'm going to try and play it now. Are you ready?
Oh, yeah.
Right. Did you hear it?
I did. Bernie
Good.
does not like that bit of the podcast.
Doesn't she? Well, I was a bit confused by it that time because I couldn't hear anything and it just felt a bit weird. But we'll see
He's
what
just like, what the chuff are you doing? Just jiggling my bed about, which
we'll
is your
see what
legs.
happens on the edit. Yeah, we'll see what happens on the edit.
So it's the main section now.
The main section. That was quite stressful. And now it's the main section, and we're going to talk for a shorter time this time because
Mm,
of the hyperfocus is taking a bit longer. But they had to take a bit longer, and that was fine. We're going to talk about negative self-talk this week
yes.
because it's one of the biggest things that I talk to people about because it's a common thing. It's a very common thing. It's one of the biggest things that makes life difficult for neurodivergent people is the fact that we spend most of our lives beating ourselves up for not being neurotypical. And not being able to just do the thing. And so I wanted to talk a bit about my experiences of that because I don't really, since I did my coaching accreditation and did all the work that I've done in therapy and whatnot, I don't really beat myself up all that much anymore, which is really nice. I mean, it's really nice. That sounds really, oh, it's nice, but it's properly great. It's amazing. It's brilliant. Well done, me. But every single client that I talk to does beat themselves up. And learning to be kinder to yourself is massive. But the main thing, I mean, it's easy enough to say, oh, negative self talk, but what generally happens, and the analogy that I give is if you're sat in a room and you're trying to do something, or you've made a mistake, or something's happened, and someone comes in and starts shouting at you that you're an idiot and that you, why can't you just get on with it? And you just ridiculous and all the other negative words, stupid and lazy and all of those nasty words that we call ourselves, the labels that we've been given as we've been growing up and have given ourselves because of the high expectations we give ourselves and all that. If someone comes into the room and starts shouting at you, you're going to retreat, you're going to want to hide, you're not going to be able to do the thing. And so when you are beating yourself up, when you're doing something and you're struggling to do it and you're saying, for God's sake, just do the thing, and lots of other things that are probably worse than that, you are that person that's coming in and shouting in your face. Whereas when you are doing something and you're struggling and someone comes in and says, all right, I know why that's happened. Don't worry about it. What can we do to help you move forward? You are much more likely to be able to do that. And by changing the narrative and trying to talk to yourself as if you are somebody that is trying to help yourself move forward rather than getting in the way of yourself, it's a really, really massive step to take towards actually being able to function better with neurodivergent conditions and as an autistic person or ADHD or whatever. And so, yeah, I know it's quite a coachy main segment, really, because, yeah, I mean, I've spent so much of my life, especially in decision paralysis, and transitions is a big
Mm.
thing. Like when you go into the shower and you're like just putting it off because having a shower is such a massive sensory thing. Like the being in the shower bit, fine, great. But the bit from the bedroom to the bathroom and then the initial getting in the shower, it has to be in the right temperature, it's a pain in the ass, all the rest of it. And then the getting out of the shower and being wet and having to dry yourself and transition to being dry is a horrible sensory nightmare for a lot of people, me included. It's the only thing really that I really struggle with now still is why can't I just get in the shower? Whereas it's okay, we understand it's a huge sensory thing. Count yourself down from 5. I do it out loud. It's more of an ADHD verbal processing thing, but I count down from 5 and I get up and go. And it's a lot easier. But yeah, it's a big thing. So that is what I suggested for the main segment today, is the negative self-talk and beating yourself up and being kinder to yourself. But it's all well and good saying be kinder to yourself, but what does that mean? How do you know?
Mm.
A lot of
It
it is
does
about noticing.
sort of link to my work situation, I think, doesn't it? Because
Yeah.
all of this time I've been thinking, well, I shouldn't need to ask for this. I shouldn't need to ask for that. I should just be able to do it. Why can't I do it? Why can't I sit in an office with tons of people? Taking that time to realise that needing to ask for things is okay and that there's nothing wrong with you for needing to ask for what will help.
Yeah. Beating ourselves up for needing help is common, you know.
Yeah.
It's quite difficult.
Or even just in terms of like beating yourself up for not being able to just have a social situation and immediately spring back from that
Yeah.
social situation and still being tired and still feeling like you don't want to do anything else for the rest of that week, or
Yeah.
that you don't really want to do a lot of the cleaning around the house is my big one. If I'm sort of mentally drained, I sort of let all of that slide. And then you look around and you're just like, I'm so rubbish because I can't keep on top of like housework and everybody's gonna think I'm a scruff. And
Yeah.
when in actual fact, you work full time, that probably takes a greater impact on you than it would a neurotypical person.
Yeah.
Um, I've got other health conditions as well, and thinking about the reasons why and the fact that it's okay that something's got to slide, you
Yeah.
sort of feel like a failure.
Yeah. And I mean, it's understanding that it's not a failing, it's a neurotype, it's a disability. And
Hmm.
it's okay that you're not able to do everything. I mean, I'm very similar in that I really struggle with housework and stuff, with parenting and working and everything else. And I know that we're both supported by our partners, but you feel like a burden sometimes. And it's when you're calling yourself a burden and saying, calling yourself out, it's like, what? Hang on a minute. We're disabled people. And so needing support in some areas and not being able to do all the things all the time. If you add something into your schedule, like a social event,
Mm.
then something has to drop. And if that's housework, then that's housework, and that's okay because we're not superhuman.
No.
But I think that feeling of being a failure and being rubbish and what will other people think, a lot of the time we judge ourselves more than we're judged by others. And that makes us feel judged by other people because we're judging ourselves. We're telling
Mm,
ourselves a story of that person thinks this. Well, that thought has come from somewhere and you can't read other people's minds. So it's sometimes a projection of how we are.
yeah, and also I probably think that there will be people out there that don't think about that sort of stuff at all and don't beat themselves up about it.
Oh,
And which is a thing that I hadn't really reflected on, is that people might have a messy house and that's just it. They'll just say, well, I didn't manage to clean the house this week because I was doing X, Y, and Z, but I'll do it next week. And they'll be able to sort of not feel like a failure or ashamed for that. Whereas
the high expectations of
we've got,
ourselves,
yeah,
which is a neurodivergent trait, is perfectionism and feeling like you need to be able to do everything all of the time is
it's
also a thing. So not being perfect doesn't make you shit. There's a big difference between perfection and crap that is human, you
it's the
know.
standard though, isn't it? You sort of aim for everything being perfect, whereas a neurotypical person might not do that, might recognize that not everything can be perfect and you can only do what you can do.
So it's just figuring out being kinder to yourself, giving yourself some grace, knowing that it's okay to need help and be that supportive hand on your
Yeah.
shoulder rather than the person screaming in your face.
Mm.
Whatever topic you're anxious about or upset about or overthinking or any of the other things that happen in any situation, what will help you? What will help you move forward? If somebody else was to support you, what would they say? Rather than stop being lazy, just do the thing. Why can't you just do it? Um, because it's okay to not be able to just do it.
Yes. That's the main message in it.
Message.
It's okay not to be able to do something and to be able to ask for help to be able to do something as well.
So yeah, give yourself some grace, people. And that was our main segment.
Yes, it was indeed. So, trait of the week.
Tray of the week, we're going to talk about stimming
Mm,
because it's been a thing. It was foot rubbing. We were talking about foot rubbing in my house. Because it's a common stim is when somebody is sat or lying down in bed for them to rub their feet together. A lot of autistic people do that.
and crickets.
And crickets as well. They may be autistic as well as geese.
Oh God, yeah.
Maybe
Which
all
other animals are
animals.
autistic?
Yeah, that's a subject, isn't it? We'll have to do some research
Yeah. Next week,
um,
next time.
next time. So yeah, there was a cut on a foot or a bruise or something that made it painful, and that's a comfort thing, and so it became an issue, and so I was like, oh, I can talk about stimming on the podcast.
Yes, because it's not just like you. I don't want to use the word stereotypical, but the stereotypical one is sort of your hand
Hand
flapping
flapping. Well,
um
it can be, but
and it
stimming,
can,
it's an
yes.
incredibly useful thing for autistic people to be able to do because it helps us regulate, and the more open you can be with your stims, the easier you might find it to regulate. And it's really, really important that if you do stim, that you don't try and stop it because all you're doing is stopping the energy from transferring. And so you're building up
Mm.
internally and it can lead to more meltdown. So stimming is a really healthy way. So whether it's physical stimming or vocal stimming is a thing also.
Yes, I said, is it like is echolalia, which is like
It can be,
it's
yeah.
things getting, is it things getting stuck in your brain or repeating
Repeating
sounds
sounds
back?
and phrases back, which is mirroring and potentially a stim. I mean, my vocal stim is generally, I say everything's fine a lot. And generally, the longer the word fine, the less fine things are. I'll go, everything's fine, or everything's fine, or everything's fine, everything's fine, everything's fine. If I'm trying to calm myself down, it's a vocal stim. And
Hmm.
when I realised that the things that I say repeatedly are stims, it really helped me to be less conscious of them and less self-conscious about it. And a lot of people don't realise that repeating phrases is a stim, but obviously you've got the vocal cords and the sensory element and the auditory, whatnot. But I mean, I rub my fingers together a lot and
I tend to do like a round and round. I'll do it with my thumbs.
yeah, yes, I do that as well. Having Zoom meetings makes it a lot easier to stim because you can hide
Mm.
it more like under a desk and off screen. But you've got all sorts of types of stimming, and I mean, like skin picking and all that kind of related stuff. When it's a repetitive movement for release of energy and for helping you regulate, if you reduce the overwhelm, generally the stimming reduces. It's not the kind of thing you can say, just stop doing it. It's like
Mm.
biting nails and things like that, that it's often a sign that the overwhelm is there. So the key to getting to the bottom of that is to reduce the overwhelm, which I probably could have said earlier on in this segment.
Mm.
But it's very, very strongly linked to how stressed people are and how overwhelmed you are. But if it does help, and then do it. And if you see someone stimming in public, then that's also okay.
Mm.
I think it's an area where a lot of people feel people will stare.
I think it's also one that like people might hear it and go, well, I don't stim. I don't do anything like that. But even it's something that's repetitive, isn't it, that helps you to regulate. So that could be something like stroking an animal or
Yeah,
talking to the animal, saying certain phrases to the animal, listening to a song or singing a song repetitively or listening to a certain part of the song.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
one of my ones when I'm trying to sleep is I know all the 50 states of America. I've no need to know that. But
But
like I will go from A to Z and also because I know that probably by the time and there isn't as one that starts with Z. But by the time I get to that point, I'm probably generally asleep because it's sort of regulated
yeah,
me enough that I can do that.
yeah,
It's not just hand flapping, and it's okay if it is, but equally don't sort of rule yourself out of the
yeah.
club if it's not a visual, a sort of a physical one, if it's more of a mental one. Yeah.
And like drumming fingers and stuff
Mm.
is really
Or shaking my legs.
shaking your legs. Fidgets in general, if they are repetitive, can be. So fidgeting and stimming is a bit of a crossover between, it's a crossover trait between ADHD and autism, but with ADHD, it's more commonly to release energy, and with autism, it's more commonly to help
Mm.
regulate. With the repetitive motion can be soothing. And so, because it's something that you're doing over and over and over, and it's a safe thing to do, there's lots of different stims. But yeah, so that's what we wanted to talk about for the trait of the week.
The trait of the
Stims.
week. Stims.
Stims.
Um,
Yeah,
so that's that one.
yeah. So
So,
we would like to hear from people.
please
All
send us
those things.
emails to that'll be the tism at gmail.com to tell us that everything's okay and that you want us to keep doing podcasts. That'd be nice.
We will anyway,
We will
probably.
anyway, yeah.
It's become a thing that we like, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
Don't send us emails and telling us you hate us, because that wouldn't be very nice to receive.
No,
But if you like us,
definitely
tell us.
send us, yeah,
Send us emails.
like,
Like,
subscribe,
subscribe,
comment,
give us
um,
ratings,
oh,
review. All of those things are
yeah.
great.
Tell your
Um,
friends in exotic places so that they can listen to them in the exotic
was
places
it
and I
Australia
can.
that we had a listener in? So if you're the person in Australia, thank you for taking us
G'day,
to
yeah,
Australia.
g'day, mate.
We are.
Um,
Good day, mate. Yeah. Seeing any kangaroos recently?
yeah.
And kiwis. What we need.
Kiwis and New
Not
Zealand's
that's New
New
Zealand.
Zealand.
Oh shit. Oh my God.
Kiwis with the legs.
Kiwis with legs.
Very, do you know
Great.
what? I don't trust kiwis, not the bird, the fruit, because once when I was a kid, I threw one up and I don't know where it went. I just needed to tell you that. Like, I think I threw it like a ball.
That didn't happen.
It did. It probably just went on top of the cupboards or something, but I'm choosing to believe that kiwis have got access to
Oh,
a
were you
different floor,
inside?
a different dimension, yeah.
Right, yeah, so it probably went on top of the
But
cupboards.
I
Then.
looked and it wasn't there, so kiwis have got special powers.
Did it go behind the fridge or something?
It's the only explanation. I wasn't near the fridge now. I just needed to tell you that it just needed to escape from my body that the
As soon as I
kiwis,
said the word kiwi, to be honest,
yeah,
your face changed and I was just like, what have I said?
I
And
needed
then I realised that I
to
got New Zealand and Australia confused, and I'm very sorry for doing that because I don't think we can cut it out now because I think the world needs to know
about
that
the kiwi mystery. Yeah.
you threw it up in the air
Yeah.
and then it didn't come back down.
And I haven't been able to think about them in the same way ever since.
It's gone into orbit.
Probably, yeah.
Just
I
kept
am
heading
known
up.
for my throwing abilities.
Yeah, I'm sure. But not cheese.
Not, not cheese.
Not cheese.
No. So yeah, if you're in Australia or New Zealand,
I'm sorry.
let us know about the kiwis. I
Geography is not
didn't
my
throw
special interest.
didn't throw any birds
No.
into orbit. Um, share it with people that are on random islands like Ouagadougou's not an island, is it? It's a place.
I
Where
have
is
no
it?
idea. Don't
It's
ask
in
me.
Burkina Faso.
Oh, that's a great name
If
for a
you
place.
know somebody in
Burkina
Burkina
Faso.
Faso,
Yeah.
please get them to listen.
Do you
Doesn't
know?
matter that they're likely not to understand what this podcast is about because it's in English and they might not speak English.
Do you know quokkas?
What?
The animal. A quokka.
As in a crocodile?
No, a quokka. There's an
No.
animal. There's an animal called a quokka, right? They are the cutest animals in the world, and they only exist on one island. And I can't remember. Um, that is Australia. I see. This
So
is the
they
thing.
do come from a
Yeah,
land down under.
southwestern Australia, in just a small islands off the coast of Western Australia. Rottnest Island is the place, and that's a name I should have remembered, isn't it? But quokkas are great. They're very, very cute. If you happen to be your person in Australia, if you happen to be close to a quokka, please, please, please send us a photo of a quokka because they're very cute, Claire. They really are. They really are
Yeah.
adorable.
But don't
Um,
send us any pictures of the other animals that live in that. Like, they've got lots of scary animals, aren't they, that can kill you. I
is
could
it?
go on a tangent now about an article that I read about all the different snakes and how they harvest the venom. And oh, tarantulas, it's this woman's job in a zoo in Queensland. Oh my God. Yeah, it. I
Sorry.
need to get this out of my brain now.
Okay.
This woman, I think it's Queensland. She milks spiders of their venom. When people get these spiders, they're called Sydney something or others, right? People can surrender them to her for this zoo that she works at. People leave them on her doorstep when they've caught them because they milk them to make the anti-venom for this spider, and it takes however long to make. And rabbits are immune to it, so they inject it into rabbits to make the anti-venom.
What? I mean, right. Okay. So when I
So
was
it
younger,
so basically,
people used to be able to convince me of everything in the world. It didn't take much to do. And so now I fact check literally everything that people say to me. And I know, Claire, that you wouldn't make it up.
no, I definitely haven't. I mean, if it's not true, then the
Um,
BBC have lied to me.
milk.
Milking like Sydney something spiders.
Yeah, the Sydney spider venom milking.
It's her job,
Oh, well, that's very interesting, isn't it?
but it's like the deadliest place in the world is Australia.
And
And they
then the
do it with
rabbits from, yeah, you're
snakes.
right, you know.
Uh,
Well, there we go. But
that was
quokkas aren't venomous as far as I'm aware.
no.
And just to clarify for anyone listening to the podcast who was listening rather than watching, is when Claire's reaction happened in the middle of the spider thing, I did show her a picture of a quokka and I laughed and Claire reacted in the middle of the story about the spider thing. And then I realised that that wouldn't fit, but it's important to leave in, I think, because they
Yeah.
are amazing. And anyone who doesn't know what a quokka is, look it up, mate. They're the best.
Mm.
They've got the best faces of any animal that exists.
I bet nobody started listening to this podcast thinking that they would learn more about the wildlife of Australia, especially considering that neither of us have ever been there.
No,
But
no way
there
away.
you go. This podcast is not only educational about autism, it's educational about our random elements of hyperfocus
Yeah.
as well. And it's a shame for everybody listening to this podcast
What is?
that they didn't know, right, that my hyperfocus of the week was things to do with the Pope. And that ship sailed now, unless there's
Oh,
another Pope, because I could tell you all about the selection of the new Pope and like,
oh yeah.
but
Yeah,
next time.
I just ignore that stuff. It goes over my head. I don't have any brain space. I think it's probably the child. Bless him. He's brilliant,
Yeah,
but he does take up quite a lot of brain space. I used to be interested in things.
it's potentially the ADHD as well because of the focusing on
Oh yeah.
things,
I've
whereas
got
I can
lots.
literally just go, yeah, I've read this article about the Pope, then I'll go on Wikipedia and find out more about the Pope.
The
The
thing is,
tism.
I would listen to somebody talking about it and I would be very interested,
Mm.
and then I would either forget pretty much straight away, or I'd file it away for some time that I didn't need it, and then it would pop back into my head.
Well, I feel like that's potentially what's happened with the whole Spider Death Sydney thing.
Yeah, it's been a
And
while.
now you know that,
I do. I do.
and it's
Very
life-saving.
interesting.
But I don't think that that's it. I moan about my job. Well, that's not a job that I would ever want to do.
Milking spiders.
Milking deadly spiders.
Deadly spiders. No, it's not really a job that I'd want to do either, to be honest. Anyway,
So yeah,
on that note,
um, don't send us pictures of spiders. Do
send
send
us
us
pictures of
pictures of
quokkas
quokkas
and
or other,
kangaroos or other nice animals. Koalas, I think, live in Australia as well, don't they?
yeah.
Yeah.
Or just random dogs and cats. Like I'm happy
Oh,
with like some.
send us
They don't even have to be cute ones, but probably
pictures of
maybe.
animals.
Yeah.
We like animals. Mm.
Mm. As well as that, on topic, send us suggestions for things that you want to talk about.
Yes.
Because we could talk about pictures of animals that you send us, but that's not great for a podcast.
Probably what we would do if you sent us pictures of animals is thank you for doing that.
Yes.
And that would be pretty much, well, it might not be, unless if you send us interesting animal facts as well, then we could maybe have an interesting animal fact of the
Yes.
week section, but we would need to be, yeah, we could do that, but
Yes.
right, no pressure, no stress. It's all right. It's no,
Mm.
everything's fine. I've just done it. Brought it back to stimming. Yeah, thanks. Thanks for listening.
Yes.
Watch us on YouTube. Subscribe to us, like us, email us, look us up on Linktree, which is linktr.ee/ that'll be the tism.
Mm.
All of our links are on there for our socials. Please follow us on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok because I want you to. Okay.
Yes.
It's not a demand. Let's take
No.
it as a demand. It would be great if you could join us on these things because we're very interesting people.
Yes. As you can
Maybe.
probably tell from the past
Oh
4 hours of
God.
content that you might have
God.
listened to in our podcast so far.
God.
Interesting is definitely a word that can be used to describe us.
Absolutely. And on that note, thank you for listening.
Yes, that's enough.
That's enough now.
That's enough now.
We've done enough.
Yes.
And we'll be back in. Has it been a real laugh today?
Yeah. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for
You've been a
coming.
great laugh. I've been a great laugh.
And we will be back in 2 weeks' time where I will probably be talking about the brief holiday I will have just been on with my child and my fiance. probably in the rain because it hasn't rained in the past 6 years in the UK, and it is forecast to rain in half term because that's how the world works.
Yes.
Yay! So
Woohoo!
yeah, that's something for you to look forward to. And we'll be back then. Thank you very much.
Yes. Goodbye.
Bye for now.